The Unknown was released in March 2024, and back then he was considered a solid A-tier killer. Now 2 years later, survivors have gotten a lot better against him, and now all of a sudden he's all the way down to the B tier. In fact, at the time of making this video, Unknown is one of the worst performing killers in the competitive scene and the absolute worst in public matches. Somehow he has become kind of a joke in the community and actually getting a new nickname, the Harmless. But don't worry, today I am teaching you how to turn him back into the harmful that he once was. If you don't know who I am, my name is benkkwho and I've mained Unknown pretty much ever since his release. I have Unknown experience in public matches, 1v1s and the competitive setting as well. And in this video, I'm giving you 8 important tips that will help you get better with the Unknown. One of the biggest things that separates good Unknown players from the amazing ones is actually how they use and place their hallucinations. Most people don't really think about where they leave them, and yes, while that can be enough against some teams, you still should actually think where you want to leave them. If you're not in chase, it is almost always better to take the extra couple seconds to put them in better spots. The best place to put hallucinations is close to generators. However, be careful, because if you put them too close to them, survivors will just dispel them. Find a spot where the hallucination is close to a gen, but still behind a wall or two, so it stays hidden. Placing them this way lets you control the gens much easier and even gives you free hits, because survivors get caught off guard. And you can actually do this exact same thing around hooks. When you hook someone and you see that you have a hallucination coming up, hide the clone somewhere nearby behind a wall, where the rescuer won't see it. Now, as soon as you hear the unhook, you can teleport back and instantly start chasing someone. Tunnel! Another really important thing to remember with hallucinations is that if you are in a map that has a main building with multiple floors, it is always a good idea to have a clone on the second floor. Main buildings tend to be a safe spot for survivors, so having a clone there turns it against them. Not only that, main buildings are usually closer to the middle of the map, so having a clone there is really nice for map pressure. And since you placed the clone on the second floor, it is really annoying to get rid of, because survivors have to spend a lot of time to go all the way up. Tip number 2 is be patient. And what I mean by this is whenever a survivor is running to a window or a pallet, take an extra second or two before shooting, because the survivor will almost always dodge. Every time I am playing a survivor against the Unknown, this double back always works, so do not be this guy. What I usually do is whenever I'm approaching a pallet, I wait that the survivor jukes, and whenever they realize that it's not working, they run back to the pallet last second, and that's when I shoot. During this situation, I usually aim at this part of the pallet. Shooting here prevents that the shot doesn't go too far and that you actually finish the job. You don't have to aim exactly right here, but that is what I found the most consistent. Sometimes when you're zoning with the UVX, the survivor dodges too much. Then you can just walk in front of them, body block the pallet, and just M1 them. I know, saying be patient with the UVX is kinda weird, since there is a really small window where you can actually shoot. However, with the next tip, you can make the window longer. Next tip is avoiding lines of sight. This is genuinely one of the most important things, yet I still never hear anyone talk about it. Since your power has a 7-second cooldown and the weekend takes 10 seconds to get rid of, that leaves you with only a 3-second window where you can actually damage survivors. Because of this, you should avoid lines of sight as much as you can. In practice, this means 2 things. When you're chasing someone with the weekend, if you have a choice to either just follow the survivor normally in the open, or take a slightly slower route where they cannot see you for like 2 seconds, almost always take the slower route. Because now, since you did that, you actually have a 5-second window instead. You should do this pretty much every single chase, because it allows you to have more time and be more patient with the UVX, leading to more hits. Another thing you can do is that if a survivor is stuck on some pallet where they cannot leave, you can try to go for a shot. And if it misses, you can just hide around the corner and then try again. In this situation, the survivor cannot really do much, because they cannot just run away. But they also cannot get rid of the weekend, because you are playing hide and seek. Wallbangs are the bread and butter of the Unknown. With them, you can turn some of the worst killer maps into your favorite ones. And if you don't know what they are, basically they are shots where you hit someone through a floor, wall, or a ceiling. And getting better at them will be the difference that will turn you from the harmless into the harmful. My favorite and most consistent spots for this are staircases, corners, and generators that are placed next to a wall. There are unlimited amounts of these spots, so this is not a thing that you can just fully learn instantly. It will take time and experience. However, you can and should start implementing them slowly into your gameplay. Every time I'm chasing a survivor, I'm thinking constantly, are there any spots where I can hit them through a wall and catch them off guard? These shots are so good because survivors don't try to avoid the blast when they cannot even see you. And even though Unknown is easily my most played killer, I still find more and more of these spots every time I play him. You will find and implement them into your gameplay all the time if you just keep your mind open for them. If you have seen me play Unknown, you have probably noticed that I do this a lot. You might think that it is purely just for fun, and well, even though that is partially true, there are actual reasons why I do that. I do this in chase constantly because that makes it so survivors can never be sure when I'm actually shooting, making you less predictable. Also, oftentimes, when you tap your power, they think that a shot is coming, so their first instinct is to dodge. But in reality, I was just tapping my power, and now they lose distance for no reason. Funniest thing in the world is when survivors are so scared of getting hit by the UVX that when you tap your power, they start moving like they are possessed. And every time this happens, it kinda feels like I'm mind controlling them. Tapping your power has other benefits too. For example, you can delay hallucinations from spawning, so you can put them in better spots. Another small but pretty advanced thing you can do is if you're chasing someone in a tile with a window, you can tap your power just before vaulting. The sound of the UVX completely masks the vaulting sound, and that little play results in a hit once in a while. Unknown actually has some information in his kit, if you just pay enough attention. If survivors are weakened, the only way they can get rid of it is by staring at you within 25 meters. So if you hear the sound and see someone lose their weakened state, you know for sure that they are close to you. I have found so many people stealthing behind rocks or other objects just because of this tip. And by the way, if you want people to call you a cheater, use the add-on Victims map, because it gives you killer instinct when survivors remove the weekend, showing their exact location. You can also get information with your hallucinations. If you pay attention and see a hallucination get dispelled in the distance, you know for a fact that a survivor is right there, right the now. And even though you cannot teleport there anymore, little pieces of information like this can be really valuable. Because the more information you have on survivors, the more it helps you make the right decisions. The more usual way to use hallucinations is to just use them for map mobility. However, you can use hallucinations in more aggressive ways as well. When you're chasing a survivor in a really strong tile, for example, this crane that you can find in Auto Heaven maps. You can drop a hallucination and then chase the survivor towards it, and now it becomes a free hit. And like I told you to be patient with the UVX, you also need to be patient with aggressive hallucinations. Because if you teleport to the clone too early, the survivor can just turn around and run back to the pallet. Another really cool thing that you can do with hallucinations is to use them against Decisive Strike. Let me explain. If you down someone and you think that they might have Decisive, take a look around and think where they want to run after stunning you. Now go and place a hallucination in that area. If they indeed had Decisive and stunned you with it, now because of the clone, they enter a lose-lose situation. Either they run into the safe tile where your hallucination is, or they run into a weaker tile where they probably cannot survive for long. And the last tip of this video is not really a tip, maybe more like a reminder. Reminder about the fact that the Unknown can use every perk in the game, and almost no other killer has that luxury. You can slap anything on him, and it will make some sense. All the usual gen slowdown perks are good. Aura perks like Nurse's Calling are amazing on him because it allows you to go for snipes, or even Barbecue and Chili, because then you know exactly where to teleport. Chase perks like Brutal Strength or Batteries Included are really good on him to give you some extra lethality, but maybe my favorite type of perks to use on him are Stealth perks. Try to experiment with a bunch of different perks and builds. And in my opinion, just slapping 4 slowdown perks isn't always the best. Yes, being able to regress generators with Pop, Painrest, Grim Embrace and Deadman Switch after hooking is really good. But there are going to be games where you're going to be held on a leash. And in those games, these perks are practically useless, because you're struggling to get a down in the first place. Maybe changing even one of these perks into something else would have helped you secure hooks more easily. And those were the tips that I think are the most important for actually getting better at the unknown. I hope that you found at least one thing in this video to be useful. If you feel like I missed something really important, make sure to leave it in the comments to help everyone out. And quick shameless plug before you go, I make a bunch of unknown content and stream here on YouTube, so if you find that interesting, hitting that stinky subscribe button helps out a lot. But that is all for today. See you in the next video. Bye bye!